Well, hey guys, Jonathan Doyle with you once again. Welcome aboard to the daily video. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure you've subscribed. Hit that big subscribe button here. It makes a big difference. I do this for free every day, 365 days a year. So the only thing I ask is hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. It does make a big difference. And leave a comment if you like what you're hearing today. Today we're going pretty deep on a few specific things. So please leave a comment if you want to go deeper or if you have some feedback on it. And go and check out the description under here because you can get free access to my book, Bridging the Gap. You can book me to speak. You can find the podcast version. So under here, I go a lot deeper on the podcast version. So friends, let's rip in. I'm a little weary today. I never usually tell the truth, but my son and I yesterday started our motorbike adventure. We were due to do a 4,500 kilometer return trip. The only thing that stopped it happening was the most extreme weather we have ever experienced. So we're on the motorbike yesterday. We're a few hours in and the gale force winds were extraordinary. We've got some very wild weather here at the moment in Australia. And it's a big motorbike and the both of us are on it. We're fully loaded. The wind was so strong, we were literally on two occasions got blown across the road into the other lanes. So we managed to limp back home and we are reevaluating our strategy. And but what a big 24 hours it's been. I got back from the ride and then jumped on the bike and did a 100k training ride in the afternoon. And I cut to a quick video. I did a 100k yesterday and then a ruck as well. So check this video out. Hey guys, just done a 100k on the bike this morning. I got a 20 kilo ruck on and we're just heading up the top of the mountain here to finish out the morning. Then I got a sets of 100 push-ups to do. But that's a big day, 100k on the bike, now the ruck. Hope you're doing well. And remember, your body can do way much more than you think. So as always, I share that stuff because, I'm 48 years of age with no athletic background and I just keep moving forward. So wherever you're at in your physical activity or training, I hope I'm some tiny bit of inspiration for you. Just get started. If your health or your energy or your fitness isn't where you want it to be, just get started. Just walk around the block, walk to the letterbox, just whatever it is, It's very relative. What I do is pretty full on, but there are people way beyond me. So I think what we need to do is just do what we reasonably can to get ourselves more energized, more and moving forward. Why does it matter? Because it's not about narcissism. It's not about really self. It is about self to the degree that being healthy allows us to contribute more, right? And I just think that's where it's at, that if we're active and energized, we can take care of people and make a contribution to the world more effectively than if we're constantly in low energy states. All right, today this is a third video where we're dealing with viewer questions. So I've had some great questions from viewers asking me to cover particular topics. So today we're going to talk about dealing with toxic people. We're going to talk about relationship trust issues, and we're going to talk about dealing with guilt. The podcast version goes for about 25 minutes, so you can get the link under here to that. I'm just going to try and hit the high points because I like to keep the videos a bit shorter for you. Let's do this. I got a question about toxic people in the workplace, particularly. How do you deal with that? There are a few things to think about. The first point is we need to decide what we are prepared to tolerate. So sometimes we can get very conflicted, right? We're like, well, I'm putting up with this awful situation, but I'm going to stay here because it puts food on the table. I'm providing for my family. I get that. That's an honorable disposition to have. Life is short. We do not have to tolerate poor behavior indefinitely because that toxic person in the workplace or wherever you encounter them will have a deleterious effect on you over time. And it's not just you dealing with it. If you're dealing with stress, anxiety, not wanting to go to work, you're feeling depressed or physically unwell because of how you're being treated, that stuff will fan out into your other relationships at home. You'll be down, you'll be depressed, you'll be anxious, you'll be snapping at people. So the logic of I have to put up with this to care for my family is to be balanced with the fact that you could be taking stuff out on your family because you're hating going to work. So let's start from the bedrock of you don't have to put up with this stuff, right? You really don't. We don't have to see it as normative. We don't have to see it as just part of the way the world is. No, we don't have to sign up for that. We really don't. So what do you do? On the podcast, I talked about you've got strategies of avoidance or strategies of confrontation. By avoidance, I mean not denying it's happening. I just mean you go, is it possible to avoid this person significantly enough that I don't really have to deal with them, right? So that's the first part. That's going to be different for everybody watching this if you've had this experience. Sometimes you just have to work so closely with somebody you just can't avoid. But sometimes you can just go, what I used to call limit time exposure. So you limit the amount of time you're with them. You just constantly find ways to do less and less and less. So, as Shakespeare said, right, discretion is the better part of valor. It's kind of like avoidance can be the better part of valor sometimes. Sometimes we don't have to confront. We can just go, well, if I'm dealing with this person, 50% of the day, could I end up making it 20% of the day and then I can get through this? That's one possibility. The second is confrontation, right? So you can confront directly or you can confront over the top. So confronting directly means you just call the person on it. You literally go, hang on, how you're behaving is not okay. Now, get some advice with this. Talk about it to somebody first because this can go a whole bunch of different ways. It can be highly effective. The person can just get absolutely confronted and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm really sorry. Not always that likely because if they are genuinely the office psychopath, then that's not going to help. They're not going to be open. But sometimes people can be like, once you confront them, they're just like, they back off. They realize you're no longer a soft target and they stop. It's the schoolyard bully thing, right? If you can't confront directly, like you don't want to go one-on-one, then, you can what I call confronting over the top. So you confront over the top. You go to their principal, their CEO, whatever the organizational structure is. You make some time for an honest conversation and you say, look, this is becoming really problematic. This is happening every day. So either way, don't settle. Don't just stay stationary hoping something's going to change because it doesn't change. If a person is the genuine office psychopath and they are toxic and they are going to take all their crap out on you, why do you think they're just going to stop? I mean, they've been running this pattern for however knows how long, maybe since childhood, and they're not going to stop realistically unless they're either confronted with it or you just take yourself out of the situation. I tend to like to have my battles early, so for me it's always better to have the discussion sooner rather than later. Otherwise, you lie awake at 2 a.m. dreading going to work. So I hope that's some of the high points. Go to the podcast version because I did go deeper on it there. But summary, you do not have to put up with it. Life is way too short to be dreading going to work and dealing with toxic people. You can try the avoidance strategy if it's viable and realistic. You can try confronting directly or you can try confronting over the top. Those would be the go-tos for me. And, life's a funny thing. Sometimes the fact that you're dealing with a toxic person may mean that it's time to move on and you can't change them and the organization is not going to change. So it's time to move. And here's the thing, right? Life's funny that way. Sometimes, let me remind you that there are great workplaces. There are some places where the culture is fantastic. I meant to mention on that culture thing, if there's a fair bit of toxicity in your workplace, it's more than likely a structural problem of the organizational culture itself. I've got a master's in leadership and management, and one of the things I learned was really that fish rot from the head down. If you've got toxic people in the workplace, it's because it's being tolerated to some degree at a culture level, and usually that doesn't change until the leadership changes. So by the same token, do you understand that there are some great workplaces with really good people leading who care about their people and won't tolerate this stuff? So I just want to say that because sometimes you're terrified to leave, but don't forget that there's some great places you could be, right? So weigh all that up, talk to good people and make a decision. Right, that's it for toxic people. Next question was around relationship trust. It was a beautiful question from a lady who had obviously, reading between the lines, experienced some relationship trauma of some form. Whether that was betrayal or something, I don't know. But my point is that the gist of their question was, how do you trust? How do you trust in relationships if you've been hurt? A few key points. One, I think in the podcast I said two things. One, the first step is if this is a pattern, is to recognize the pattern. And that's hard work, right? Because if we're experiencing something repeatedly in life, often we don't want to go too deeply into it. Why? Because as hard as this sounds, sometimes we are contributing. Now, just hang on a second. I'm not doing the blame the victim thing here. I'm just saying all of us have outcomes in life that we participate in, that we contribute to by beliefs, underlying beliefs, semi-conscious beliefs, unconscious beliefs, or conscious behaviors. So I want to say here, without being in any way harsh, the first step if we're noticing a repeated relationship pattern is to objectively and subjectively look at where we are in that. So the way I would do this is to journal and go, look, what am I believing in this situation? Am I doing anything in this situation that is helping the situation to repeat? And then take that either to a counselor, a psychologist, or a trusted friend and go, look, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm believing. Can you help me pull apart whether I'm just finding the wrong people constantly or there's something in me that's relevant here? So that's the first step. That's confronting. Often we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that in some way we might be part of our own pain. So take that for what it's worth. It's not victim blaming. It's just going, part of this journey of human life is to evaluate what's happening and see where we can make changes. So that's the first part. The second part is I shared a story from Tony Robbins years ago, who was dealing with a lady who had a similar experience she couldn't trust. And he gave her the example of driving on a really twisty mountain road, like super twisty, switchbacks, blind corners, and there's lots of traffic going both ways. And he said, you don't know that any driver is just going to flip the wheel and go straight into your lane at high speed. He said the only way you can go down that mountain pass is to trust that eventually all the other drivers are going to do the right thing. You have to just believe that they're going to do the right thing, because if you don't eventually choose the journey of trust, you can't travel. You can't get anywhere. You can't get down the mountain. It's a metaphor for basically going, sooner or later, we have to make the decision to trust. Now, not frivolously, so I'm not saying we just go, I just trust the universe and I'm going to keep dating the same kinds of people and trust that it'll change. That's not what I mean. I mean that to live a full human life, we are confronted with the reality of risk and rejection and failure and pain. Now, you can quarantine yourself from those. You can literally build a life where you can quarantine yourself from those realities. But you know that kind of life is eventually going to be lonely and somewhat restricted. So on my wedding day 22 years ago, I was terrified. I was so nervous on my wedding day. You can see me on the video. I don't have it on this particular video, but the video of our wedding day, you see me walk out at the end of the service and I go, you can see this stress comes off me. Why? Because the lead up to our wedding day, I really knew what I was doing. I was making a promise that I could never go back on. And by the grace of God, 22 years in, our marriage is in a really beautiful season, But I was nervous because I knew the seriousness and the significance of what I was doing. I was taking a risk. I was taking the great leap into the unknown. And you could say, well, that wasn't the unknown. You knew Karen. You'd been dating for 3 years. You cared about each other. You knew everything about each other. It was still a leap into the unknown. I mean, I'm in my 20s and I'm saying, I'm not in my 20s now, but when I got married, on my wedding day, I'm saying I am making this risk and commitment, and I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm going to keep walking forward. So all of that is my way of saying that sooner or later you have to risk. So summary, I don't mean risk frivolously. I don't mean re-traumatize yourself with the same kinds of people. I just mean that if you've done the work of evaluating what's happening, if you've talked to people you trust, then you've got to keep moving forward. You've got to risk, because if you don't risk, eventually life shrinks. All right, last thing. Where are we up to? About 14 minutes. My gosh, this is so long for what I normally do here, because I'm trying to do 3 viewer questions in one episode. The last question was around guilt. I had a couple of questions actually from people that were dealing with experiences of guilt and wanted to know, how do you move beyond that? What do you do with guilt? So let's do this quickly. First important delineation. We're going to delineate between guilt and shame. Very important life distinction. You must get this distinction. I learned this many years ago, and it's simply this. Guilt means Guilt is an experience. It is an epiphenomena. It is a subjective experience of, I have done something wrong. There is a standard that you possess. There is a belief that you have about the way things should be, how you should behave, and you've transgressed it. Then we get this experience of guilt. Shame is different. Shame is not, I have done something wrong. Shame is, I am wrong. Guilt is, I've done something bad. Shame is, I am bad. We don't want shame. Shame is toxic. Shame is crushing of the human spirit. Shame is a retarding experience. It retards our growth. Guilt, this is going to sound crazy, can be an incredibly important and positive human experience. First thing, without guilt, we would become sociopaths. Can you imagine if we had no capacity for guilt? We could do anything. And throughout history, that's exactly what's happened, right? You look at some of the worst things in human history, it's because people just moved way beyond the capacity for self-reflection and remorse. So guilt has a function. Guilt is like an alarm system in our psyche. When the alarm system of guilt is triggered, it tells us something has gone wrong here. There is a belief that you have about who you are in the world, how you want to be, what you want to contribute, that you have transgressed. The next thing, the positive aspect of guilt will bring you is the desire to make amends. So Alcoholics Anonymous, 12 steps programs, they have, I don't know what step it is, but it's like a step of, making amends, writing a list of everybody you've hurt and going to try and fix it as much as you reasonably can. So this is why guilt can also be positive, because it moves us towards fixing things. It moves us towards remorse, seeking forgiveness, and trying to do things differently going forward. That's a good thing, right? We have an experience, we do something, we recognize that it's wrong, it's non-operative, it's not helpful, it could be traumatic or painful even, and then it leads us to reach out to the people that we've hurt and say, I did X, and me doing this really hurt you and was not okay, and I want to ask your forgiveness, and I want to try and move forward. I remember I had an argument with a friend a while ago, and it was uncharacteristic for me. I don't know whether I was exhausted or something, but I really overreacted, and I felt terrible, and I reached out multiple times, and the next day we had a long conversation, and I was just straight up. I just said, I am so sorry. I said, that was just out of line. I would like to ask your forgiveness. And it really jolted me to kind of go, okay, what triggered that? What was the context? What was the things that made me do that? How do I avoid it in the future? So can you see that we're trained culturally to see guilt as negative? It's the Freudian aspect. Part of the mutation of Freud's teachings was now we have a culture that tries to teach us that if we experience guilt, it's bad. Have no regrets, baby, no regrets. No, you should have regrets. This whole idea of I don't want to look back in life and have regrets. We will have regrets because we're human, because we're sinners, because we fall short of the glory of God, because we are going to do things below our standards. We're going to do things that are selfish. So I'm not saying go looking for regrets. I'm saying accept that we'll have them. And those regrets are teaching us that there is growth still ahead of us. Those regrets are still teaching us that there are ways that we can change and grow and do better in the future. So I'd say to you today, leverage guilt in the sense that seek forgiveness, make amends, and learn every lesson it can teach you. And here's another thing I want to finish with on this. There is a season where guilt has done its work. And then you need to not let guilt transform into shame. Because sometimes people, we can do stuff and we get trapped in that guilt and we stay there for years. And we beat ourselves up and we hate ourselves and we never move forward because we can't let it go. For me, as a Christian, I have the experience of kind of doing all this subjective humanist psychological work on myself, yes, of recognizing my limitations and my failures, and then seeking human forgiveness if and when necessary. But then there's a spiritual sense of seeking the healing of God and moving forward with my life. By this I mean, eventually you have to move on. Eventually you have to, because there's something I'm trying to get to here. It's kind of like if we stay trapped in guilt, then eventually it doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve the people we love. Eventually, we have to forgive ourselves. We have to say, I forgive myself. I choose to move forward now. Because if we don't, we struggle to love. If we don't eventually forgive ourselves, after we've done all the work, asking forgiveness of people we've hurt, doing the work of identifying what were the catalysts, but if we don't eventually move on, then we get trapped. Then we go to shame, and then that just gets toxic, and we never become capable of the love and the goodness that we are capable of. That was deep. Okay, I'm going to finish there. Please, on any of these topics, leave a comment here for me today. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Would you do me a favor? Would you please make sure you've subscribed? Would you hit that subscribe button if you liked this today? Share this with some people. Go check out the show notes because you can check out the podcast version. You can book me to speak. You can get free access to my book, Bridging the Gap. Look, I'm back speaking, so if you've got events that you'd love me to come and speak at, corporate, faith-based, school-based, whatever it is, I'm back speaking and loving just getting back in front of real humans again. So God bless you, everybody. This has been a special episode. I hope it's a blessing to the people that reached out with those questions. Let's move forward. Let's keep active. Let's keep growing. I want to encourage you. I want to say to you, your life, the best days are ahead of you. They are not behind. Let's keep moving forward. My name's Jonathan Doyle. This has been the Daily Message, and I'll have another one for you tomorrow.